Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Miracles of Tragedy. Before we get started and introduce our guest, I'd like to share with you something that my daughter, the daughter of my granddaughter, the mother of my granddaughter that I just lost to suicide last year, she has come up with a book that she just published called Love Lingers Still. It's a haunted anthology of lost loved ones, written by her and also some other authors. And there's a couple of best-selling authors in this book as well. And it talks about people who have lost loved ones and the little things that help us remember them, like a scent, maybe, if you a wife that you had that passed away and there's this certain scent that she had that lingers in the air when somebody else has it on you, or different things you hear, see, feel that reminds you of them. And it could be a good reminder, or it could be one that, you know, might make you feel bad, but whatever way, we're all going to have those good moments and bad moments over such losses. And today I am excited to have Victoria Cuore with us. She's a little bit different from a lot of our guests, and we'll get into that later, but I'm really excited to have her. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Let me start off by telling you I'm so very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So now, where are you from, Victoria?
I'm on the East Coast.
The East Coast.
Yeah.
That's wide. That's a big area.
I know, it's really big. I'm on this Southeast Coast.
Florida.
Close. But because of what we do, we keep our geographics really quiet.
Gotcha.
Because of the women
Okay.
and men I help. So I like to keep it continuous across the board for everybody.
I understand completely.
Thank
I
you.
really do. And a Contagious Smile. That's the name of your company. I love that.
Thank you.
At www.acontagiousmile.com. Now, how long you say that you have podcasts as well and that you have a lot of followers, correct?
Yes. I have 3 different podcasts.
And could you tell us about them, please?
Sure, absolutely. I have the A Contagious Smile platform where we highlight and showcase amazing individuals who've battled through really tough times and came out. We use it as an inspirational tool to help the journey of healing that a lot of times some of our abuse, I hate the word victims, but the
Right.
survivors use. We tell them all the time, put them in your ears, blacken out the phone screen, and you can listen to them and have that inspirational strength and say, if they do it, I can do it. It's not me that brings in the numbers, Colin. It's my listeners and it's my guests. They're the ones who do
Right.
it. We
Yes.
also spotlight special needs kiddos that have just conquered any and everything and came out on top, and we just make it all about them and celebrate their light. Then I have Teen Talk, a Contagious Smiles Teen Talk, which is hosted by a wonderful group of teens, because I really feel like in today's time that our teens are not heard. Their voices are not heard. We're not
Yeah.
utilizing their voice and their needs. And perfect examples, when I started this last time, right before school started, I asked the panel, what are you most worried about? And they said, getting shot. And I was just like, that's it. This really needs to be heard. We have a great understanding that when you come on, everybody has an opinion, everybody values one another's opinion. And when we're all said and done, we're all friends and everybody appreciates one another. And that's what's so important. And then we have Unstoppable, where we've had amazing people on all 3. But that one, Colin, is where we really get into more of the what can we do to make things better? Why are the statistics the way that they are? It might not be the best thing for people who are just getting out of an abusive situation or considering to get out of an abusive situation. It might not be the best thing for them to listen to at that moment, because we are basically filter free, where we really get into it. We have police chiefs and judges, and we have big time people come on, and we debate the topics and we talk about what we can do to help these kids today, and how we can stop the cycle. And we talk about other things that are going on and hot topics that are going on around the world. So
Mm-hmm.
those are our 3 podcast platforms.
You mentioned that these youth have their biggest fear is being shot. It's
Mhm.
very interesting because yesterday I was actually doing some research to put together keynote speeches that I'm planning on doing at schools and universities and churches. And in part of my research in regarding to suicide, I'd have to look them back up. I've put them down on what I was going to put
Right.
on the presentation, so I'll have them right there as notes. But in ages 15 to 24, suicide is number 4, but murder is up above suicide
Mm-hmm.
for ages 15 to 24. And then on 25 to 34, murder's number 1,
Yes.
suicide's number 2.
And that's
That's
not okay. It's not
no, that blew my mind.
okay. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
It's but with gun related deaths, suicide numbers are far greater than murders though.
Yes.
So that's not good either.
No.
That's something that we need to get into. Now, with some of these teens that you're talking about, have any of them talked about not, the big thing that causes somebody to do suicide is they've lost all hope?
Yes.
Have you heard that from any of the young people you work with?
We have. We even have a wonderful young lady who co hosts with us off and on during her availability. She's written like 16 or I can't keep up with her number, 16 or 17 books on Amazon, and she's 15. And the first one that she wrote was because she was so badly bullied in school, and it could have been life threatening at that point. And
Right.
the school didn't do anything to help her. They didn't protect her. They didn't support her. And this is how
Oh,
it started. And she is just a ray of light. And so we talk about that. We talk about bullying and how bullying can get into that stage when it's, and things that cause it to go into that stage, and the different bullying like cyberbullying. And it's just, I'm very blessed, Colin, to have these teens that will come on and just speak freely. And they all say, we don't get to be heard. No one wants to hear what we have to say. It's as if we don't matter. And it's absolutely wrong. They do matter. We need to hear their
absolutely.
voice. And they come
Absolutely.
on and they're raw. They're just like, this is my problem. I even have parents come on with kids that they have issues with at home and say, here's what we're going to do. Can't get mad at one another for anything that's said in here. This is a safe place. You're
Right.
unconditionally welcomed, and there is no harboring of anything negative when we're done. So if you want to admit to something, you can. If you want
Right.
to ask a question, it has to be answered. And the kids realize they get to do that to their parent as well. And that gives them such a sense of being. And I have
Mm-hmm.
so many parents come back and say, I've never felt this close to my kid before, because we just opened up and talked and we bonded and we understood where the other one was that we might not have been before. We try to come up with solutions like, I'm sick and tired of hearing my mom tell me to do this and do that and do this, and she won't do anything for me. So we come up with things like, let's get a really big dry erase board and put it outside somewhere on a hall, split it in half, and on one side put like 5 things you really, really want. On the other side, let 5 things your mom really, really wants. And without saying a word one day, just do one of them and don't say anything. And then watch how it's
Oh,
reciprocated back to you. And you don't have that negative, coinciding disagreement between the two of you, and you're both happy. And that makes a really big
yeah.
difference. So we find ways to make things easier and better at home. So that's a good thing too.
Oh, I found that so real in my own life as well. I'm a retired airline pilot.
Oh, fun. I love
Yeah.
fun.
when when I was working, I I live out in the West. I was based in Houston, Texas. So every time I go to work, I'd have to go to the airport here, fly 3.5 hours to get to Houston, and then either go to a hotel and to start a trip the next morning, or have a later flight but anyway, I'd be gone 4 or 5 days at a time. And when I get home, I was just completely exhausted.
Sure. Yeah.
And it'd take me 2, sometimes 3 days to recover from that. My wife is like, well, why isn't he doing anything to help me at home? I'm like, honey, I'm just wiped out.
Right.
And then when I'm all rested, oh, now it's time to go back to work.
Right.
And she just felt so abandoned, even though I was there.
Yeah.
But
But you also had the time difference,
yeah,
all of
exactly.
that. Yeah, it's huge difference.
But right at lockdown, March 12th was the first day. She's a social worker.
Ah,
March 12th of 2020 was the first day that she was said, okay, they're going to work from home for 2 weeks, they were told. 2 weeks. And my wife is one of these people just rush, 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 just time. She thinks time stands still for her, and it doesn't until it's time to go. I'm late. I'm going to be late. And she was so excited to be working from home. She says, I know it's just going to be 2 weeks, but uh, now I don't have to worry about driving to work or being ready earlier and on and on and on. Well, guess what happened that first morning of working from home? I'm going to be late.
I overslept.
Says, I don't have time for breakfast. And so we say that what saved our marriage was a circle with a hole in it, because I went out into the kitchen and I toasted her bagels that she loves and put the cream
Oh,
cheese on, and I took them into her with a glass of milk, and her
what a good
face
husband.
just, well, you won't think that in a moment.
You ate it in front of her. Did you eat it in front of
No,
her?
I did not.
Okay.
But her face just lit up. Oh, honey, thank you so much. And yeah, you keep disappearing into your background there.
Oh, it's not a bad thing.
And she was just so excited that I did that and thanked me for it. But all I was thinking at the time is, man, I hope I don't have to do this for 2 whole weeks. But guess what? 3 years later,
Yeah.
guess who's making most of the meals? Guess who does the dishes every day? Because one of
Good
her
for
things that she hated
you.
was our dishes getting piled up, and she would get so upset about it. Our kitchen's a mess. I don't want you to help me do this. Honey, I'm just okay. I'll come in there. But now it's just two of us, so dishes once a day is no big
Isn't
deal.
bad. Yeah.
They don't get piled up, and she just so knowing the things that help her has
Help you.
certainly helped us.
How
And so
about
I,
just get
I
her
love that.
flowers for no reason? Just get her
Yeah,
flowers for just no reason. Just, I was
she
thinking of
loves
her.
this far more than flowers.
Oh, there you go. You got to
Yeah.
mix it up, though.
Yeah, so when you said that about, that board, I love that idea. That's fantastic. Now, how did you start the podcast with the teenagers?
Um, I've been working with special needs for over 17 years, and I worked with domestic violence as well, and I survived domestic violence, and I'm special needs myself. I actually started talking, and we are a Make a Wish family. My daughter is a Make a Wish recipient, and so we have partnered with Make a Wish, and we were contacted by a mutual friend, and they said we have somebody who really wants to do it, and he is an amazing young gentleman, and I met him. And I just totally fell in love with him and his family. We adopted him per se for the holidays and gave his family Christmas. And then his wish was he wanted to be a podcaster, and he wanted to be a police officer, and he wanted to do these things, and he won't be able to. And he always says they keep telling me I only have a few more years, and I was like, they don't know what they're talking about. That's why it's called practicing medicine. They're practicing. They don't know what they're
Right.
talking about. And so he started doing it as a guest, and then he was like, I love it. Anytime you need somebody, I'm going to be right here. And then he messaged me one day and said, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And I called him, and he goes, I'm being bullied and I don't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And I said, invite them all on. And none of them would come on. And I made a really big deal about it on the show. And he ended up getting, I think it was like 500,000 views in like a few hours. And
Holy cow.
right. And so his school played it on the intercom for him. And he was so excited. And the class he was in at that time gave him a standing ovation. I think he said it was in health class, but they gave him a standing ovation, and everybody was all trying to be his friend. And it was just to know that you helped put that smile on his face was just amazing. And I was like, guess what?
Oh,
We're going to roll with it and give teens this platform, because they don't have one out there that utilizes their opinions and does anything to help move them forward and make them into reality. It's just kind of like, we go to school, you come home, school's an uncomfortable place to be. Home can be an uncomfortable place to be depending on the situation. They need an outlet, and I'm trying to provide one, even if it's not huge yet, but like it's a very quaint and comfortable on an unconditionally acceptable area for everybody.
how's he doing today?
He's fantastic. He's just great. He messaged me the other night, and I told him, I said, listen, kid, Don't do that to me again. He calls me Aunt Victoria. He messaged me and says, I'm in the hospital. And immediately I'm like, oh my God. He has
Yeah.
a very serious life-threatening heart condition. And so immediately I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? What's happening? He is like thousands of miles away from me. And I was like, what's going on? And he didn't answer me right away. And immediately I'm thinking the worst. Did he get a pulmonary embolism? You know, what happened? What happened?
Right.
What's going on? And he messaged me. He goes, no, I cut my finger and I had to come get stitches. I said, listen, never again. Never. Never, ever, 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 ever do you do that to me again. Because I mean, I literally was just like, and he thought it was hilarious. I'm like, it's not hilarious. And then he sent me a picture, and I'm like, Logan, that looks like a paper cut. That doesn't even look like a cut. That looks like a paper cut. I mean, in the picture.
I love this kid already.
Right? He's amazing. Oh my God, he's amazing.
I,
But I mean, literally, he sent me a picture. And before he sent the picture, I'm like, I'm so sorry that you're there. Are they worried that you're going to have a clotting issue? What are they doing? Are you okay? How bad is it? He's like, I have to get stitches. And I'm like, I am so sorry. And I was like, you know, is your mom okay? Is your sister and brother okay? Da, 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 da. And he's like, you want a picture? And I'm like, sure. Yeah. And I look at it. I'm like, even if I enlarged it, it's not even a quarter of an inch. That looks like a paper cut. And he was like, don't make a little deal about it. It's not. I had to get 2 whole stitches. And I was like, 2? Where did they put the second one? Where did the second one go? Was it a take home, buy one, get one free? What are we working with here? So, I mean, they're great. I love it because they feel like they can come and talk. And it's really a great experience because, you know, there's only one official doctor for Disneyland, and his name is Dr. Disneyland, and he is the only person in the United States who is an accredited doctor who can teach a class on Disney. And he is an amazing guest. And I had him come on, and he came on and they interviewed him, and it was just as if you were sitting there watching a grown-up do this interview with the panel, and it was just fantastic watching them do this, and it was just great. And a lot of times, the reason I keep looking up is my whole property has cameras, and like I told you before we went on, I have a lot of dogs, and I have 3 right now pregnant, and I'm watching them intently because one's due any moment. So I keep looking up to make sure that we're not having a puppy situation. So yeah, so that's our podcast history.
I would love to have this young man on mine if you think he would.
Oh, he would do it.
Oh
Absolutely,
yeah,
he would do it. He would do it. He's the sweetest. Or he'd
oh
have you
yeah.
on his. He calls it his, but it's the panels, and he would interview you too. So maybe we can
Okay,
work it out.
sure, that would be great. Now, you mentioned something about your special needs as
Mm-hmm.
well. You know, a lot of people, most of the people that I interview have had things happen to them, like the death of a child
Mm-hmm.
or death of a spouse early on, and other difficult tragedies that they go through. I've had one gentleman who was a war hero, decorated war hero from the UK. The Queen herself actually put on him the military cross.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a great episode that I've done. He's a personal friend of mine, has been for years. But your story is extremely different, and that's one thing I am so excited about. Could you share with us what that is, please?
Which part of the story? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to
go? Go for it. Wherever you want to take it.
I used to have a amazing career in the corporate world, and I had everything going for me. I had the love of my life. Long story short, we broke up after 4 years, and never in my life ever did I rebound until then. And when I rebounded with a sociopath monster, to say the least. And he kept pushing me and rushing me to get serious with him, and it just wasn't there. And I told him that. And I was heartbroken. I was devastated at the loss of. I knew the other one was my soulmate. I knew it. And he kept pushing it. Well, I traveled for work, so I understand the time difference that you were talking about when you fly. And it literally, Collin, was just so hard. And the next thing I know, he's just pushing me down the express lane. And we ended up getting married because he knew how badly I wanted kids. I explained to him I wasn't in love with him. He said that could come in time. I mean, this man was a mastermind at words. Like, he would say, haven't we been away from one another long enough where now we deserve to be happy. We deserve to have that family we both want. And then I would go, maybe he's right. Like, maybe that's right. And I agreed like an idiot. Actually, on my wedding day, I was sitting in the bathroom with my Palm Pilot, if that gives you any age idea, and I was trying to find a flight back because every part of me said this was wrong. I did not need to go through this. This was wrong, wrong, wrong. Something amazing came over me and told me, go through it. And I couldn't understand what it was. And I don't drink, so I wasn't drunk. I don't know what it was. I should have started. But we got married and we didn't even live together yet. I had my own place. And right after we got married, it wasn't even a month and we got pregnant. And as soon as I got pregnant, he got violent. As soon as he knew I was pregnant. And I openly admit that I made a deal with the devil. I told him that if he hurt my stomach in any way, I would fight him back. If he stayed away from my stomach, I wouldn't fight him back. Like, I wouldn't fight him. And I never, ever in my life, just as many other uh, survivors say, thought I would be the battered wife. And I went through my entire pregnancy beaten. I was beaten, stabbed, suffocated, choked, you name it. I it was awful. He was active military. The statistics are 1 in 3 military families are going through some sort of abuse, and that column is the statistic that is reported. What's the real numbers?
Yeah.
What is the real numbers there? And they did absolutely nothing to help me. They didn't protect me. I even went to his command. And don't get me wrong, I love our military. I don't want it to sound like I don't, and I don't
Right.
appreciate the fine men and women. But there are bad apples in every orchard. So I ended up with like the core with the worm. And literally, I kept going to his command and saying he's going to kill me. And they turned a blind eye. And they absolutely protected the soldier, which is incredibly common. So I ended up being stabbed over a dozen times. I ended up in the ICU multiple times. I was told I wasn't going to make it. And I'm just trying to keep it light. I've had over 100 surgeries to correct the damage he did to me, none of which were elective. So I didn't get to, it's all, if you look on the sides here, you can see all the way down here. I'm very conscious about it, actually. And here, I have all of this, all the way here is metal. I have 26 pieces of metal in my face to correct both my upper and lower jaws have been completely replaced. So all of this in here, you can't feel it, but it is. This is all metal. It has to be replaced every 20 years. I'm deaf, so I have to wear hearing aids because he ruptured both of my eardrums, and so I can't hear. And I literally, my whole shoulder is titanium. I have a completely replaced shoulder. I had 16 surgeries to try to fix my hand and arm, where all of my fingers ended up with pins and screws, and they ended up, my hand had a plate in it. I had 4 stem router devices, 2 permanent internal and 2 external, to try with the pain, which they would just constantly electrocute you. And then after all this time, let me back up a second. My daughter came early because of all this and was life flighted to a children's hospital where I remained at her bedside for 6 months. And she has had 34 surgeries. She is the most inspirational person you've ever met in your life. That's where Contagious Smile comes from. She literally fought every odd that they said she would have and won. Like, they told her she'd never walk, she'd never talk, she would never eat. She had a tracheostomy placed to help her breathe. She was decannulated at 2. They said she'd have it till she was at least 18. She couldn't, she doesn't have a tongue. So they would tell her, you're not going to be able to talk. She's fluent in sign language. And believe me, that kid talks. They told her that she would have a feeding tube her entire life because she couldn't intake enough oral food and water and drinks to sustain life. And so she would be required to stay on a feeding tube. She doesn't have it anymore. You name it, she's overcome it. She's amazing. I mean, this kid is the light of my life, to say the least. So to back up, I ended up saying whatever's not life-threatening is going to have to wait, because my responsibility as a mom, and I'm going to be by her side. So I literally would have the dislocated shoulder and the jaw dislocation, broken nose, broken foot, knees, everything, and I would sit there in a wheelchair by her side. And I took on the military. I got divorced, and I went and got the rights terminated. So that
Good.
is, yeah. So
Good.
the rights were terminated. I ended up losing my arm and my hand, so I am an amputee now. After they tried every which way possible to save it, they couldn't, and I actually finally made the decision to amputate. Maybe 5 months ago, so I'm not. I'm a brand new amputee.
Oh,
I was paralyzed on my left from everything and the damage. So, yeah, it's been quite tough, but I always find a silver lining. I always tell everybody there's always a silver lining to every dark cloud.
yes, there is. Yes.
Um, I like, for instance, I could turn off my hearing aids and I didn't have to listen to people, and it was great. And nobody knew, and they would just be like, da, 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 and I'm like, yeah. And then my daughter would be like, they're not on, right? They're not on. And I was like, because I didn't have to hear him. It was fantastic. I ended up marrying my soulmate that broke my heart 20 plus years ago. We got back together, and he's adopted. It's now our daughter, and
Cool.
there's always a happy ending at the year. And now I literally have been doing this to try to help other families. My husband and I have been funding it out of our own pocket from
Uh-huh.
day one, which is getting incredibly hard to
Right.
keep doing. And all we want to do is pay it forward and help others, because I went through this by myself, and I don't ever want anyone to have to do that. It's unbelievable. And to do it by yourself is just, no one should have to do that.
I can't even imagine, the trauma, the suffering, the pain that you went through on this. If anybody says that monsters do not exist, you could certainly argue that point that they do exist.
Yes, thank you.
Is that's monstrous. It's
Yes, definitely.
yeah, and it breaks my heart when I hear stories like that. Did uh, did you press charges against him?
I had him dead to right on 9 felonies, including kidnapping and attempted murder on both me and my child. But this is another reason why we have Unstoppable, is because our judicial system. He got away with it free and clear. And I had documents, like I had photographs that matched and coincided with medical records that verbatim, like, detailed the injuries. I had witness statements, sworn affidavits from multiple doctors. I had sworn affidavits from nurses who'd actually seen him do this to me. And what was even harder, Colin, is that I actually wore a wire and got him on tape, and he admitted everything. And then he got away with it because of a technicality, because he was active military.
I don't. I have no words.
I do, but I'm a lady, so.
I admire you so much
Oh,
for
thank you.
your your courage.
I'm just a mom who wanted to watch her daughter
You
excel.
are you are courageous. You are courageous. It That's inspirational.
Oh, thank you. I
I
just
mean,
want other people to know that if I can get through it, they can get through it, because, you know, it, yes, some days are so awful. I had to go and get, like, for instance, I had 400 stitches from where he stabbed me. And I said, I don't want any pain meds because I don't want them to affect my child. And so they just looked at me like, are you kidding? No, I didn't get any pain meds when he stabbed me and cut me up. I don't want them now. So I didn't take them. And to this day, no matter what surgery I've had, I have never taken a single pain med. Even through the amputation, I came home the same night. They were like, no, you got to be hospitalized. Nope, I'm coming home. And I came home the same night when they did the jaws. I came home the same night, no medication for pain. Because I feel like I've always had this mentality, Colin, that I have to be alert and ready. And not only as a survivor, but as a mom. And I have to be ready to take care of my daughter. And that's kind of what I've always done. And that's just kind of how I do. And like, I came home and my husband's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to work. He's like, you can't go to work. What are you talking about? And I'm sitting in the office and I'm producing recordings and reading things. And I'm working on my fourth book. And he's like, could you just go lay down? And like, could you just, can I have some tea? Can I just have some unsweet tea, please? Thanks. Because I mean, I just, I'm not the person that can just sit and do nothing. And I want to help others. So I want to be able to do whatever I can at that moment. And I felt like if I sat still and thought about it, I would feel sorry for what I've gone through. But I'm here and I'm where I want to be. I'm with my best friend. I'm with my soulmate, the love of my life. I've told my daughter from day one, the only person I would have ever wanted to be her dad is him. And here he is. And so when you look at all that, I'm so blessed in so many ways that it's just tedious about the other little things. I mean, yeah, I lost an arm and I get stared at all the time. I get made fun of. I get crazy looks. That's okay. You know, I get called Frankenstein by people because some people are, and they're adults. The kids are great. The kids think I'm
I don't
awesome.
get
I'm
it.
like, oh, I'm Captain Jack's sister. You know, I'm Captain Hook's sister. They think it's great because, you know, and I'm like, for Halloween, I'm going to be Thing, or, you know, they think it's fantastic. But it's the adults that really are the hard ones.
Yeah, that's sad. But I gotta say too that you are one tough cookie.
Oh,
You're tougher than me, and I rode bulls for 18 years.
I'm going to leave that alone. We'll keep it clean.
No, I was a bull rider for 18 years, well,
That would
and
be
most of
so
that,
much fun.
and most of it, you know, in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. But it's and you're tougher than any bull rider I've ever known,
I
dude.
love watching that stuff. I think it's
Oh,
fantastic.
oh yeah, it's. Well, you know why I got into it?
Why?
Chicks dig bull riders.
Wow. I bet
I know,
your wife
misogynist,
was your wife
massage.
a big fan of it?
Well, we've been married 17 years, and that was, you know, way before.
Oh, okay.
It was way before I even knew she existed.
That's a safe answer.
Yeah, but I'll watch the PBR at Professional Bull Riders,
Mm-hmm.
and she now her big thing is that she judges the names of the bulls.
What?
Oh, yeah, she's. I need to name those bulls. Like there's one bull. I don't know where this came up from, but one bull. His name is Soup in a Group. She's who names a bull Soup in the Group?
I
There's
love stuff
another one that safety meetings. Safety meeting. Where did they get that? I need to name these things.
like that. Oh, that's cute. That's very cute.
Oh yeah. So she's actually learning how, you know, scoring and stuff, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So now as as an amputee,
Mm-hmm.
that I I I didn't know that it'd only been 5 months when I was reading your profile.
Yes. I
And
hide it a lot. When we go out, I hide it. And he's like, babe, show me your arm. And I'm like, nope. And my husband did the greatest thing, Colin. He actually made it where he couldn't use his arm for an entire day. And he wrapped it up and then he put it in a sling and we videoed it. And I told him he didn't have to do this. And he wanted everybody to see what a life is like. And he goes, I want to see what she's doing. And I was in the process of getting my prosthetic created for me. And he literally was like, I can't open a jar. I can't tie my shoes. I can't
mhm.
bathe myself. Like, what is this? This is crazy. And he says, I can't make it to the end of the day. I don't know how she's going to do this. And he was fabulous about it. And I mean, we videoed the whole thing all the way around. He actually goes out in public and he holds my nub. He calls it nubby, and he goes out and he holds it everywhere we go. And he's like, I'm proud of it. I'm not, you know. And I was petrified. The very first thing I thought when I was told we don't have any other choice, because I was diagnosed with CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. They said we don't have another choice. Is I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my husband. That's the first thing. Not lose my hand, not lose my wrist or
Right.
arm. I'm going to lose my husband. And I just told him on the phone, I said, I got to talk to you when you come home. And that's all I said. And him and I've never had a fight in 20 plus years. And so he comes home with a shirt that he bought, and he's a little jokester, and he has the arm tied up in a knot. And he goes, this is what we're going to deal with. This is what we're dealing with. And I just looked at him and he knew. And so after we were amputated, he was like, come on, we're going to the store. I'm like, I'm not going in. He's like, come on, we're going in. I'm like, we're not going in. So I go in and I point to something with my amputated arm, and he goes, oh, is it half off? And I just kind of lost him. People around were laughing because I'm half off of an arm. And, he's like, high five. No, sorry, that too soon. Can't no. Okay. And I mean, it's just, we joke about everything. We make light of it. So that makes it a lot easier too, because you're not wallowing in it. So, I mean, that helps. I do have
Yeah.
my prosthetic. They actually, kind of like tattooed, but engraved my arm, with a family tree that my husband and daughter drew. And it makes a very nice mantle decoration on my dresser because I won't wear it.
Huh.
I don't want it.
For what reason, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. You have to learn how to make it move. So you're training your brain to make this materialistic object move. And
Hmm.
you can make it, like, I have a power wrist as well in it. And so you do it. And the thing's heavy. I don't care who says what. They're like, it's not that bad. It is that bad. It's heavy. And many people don't. I'm trying to remember what my prosthetic team told me. It's like, everybody who loses legs said they'd rather lose both their legs than one arm, because arms are not amputated much anymore. It's very rare. And I don't like it. I feel like it's not me. It's a fake thing, kind of like my hearing aids. And I have so much now, like with my jaws and my shoulder and everything else. It's like, I just don't want any other aids. I don't want any more, like, hearing. Like, I have a problem wearing my hearing aids a lot.
I
I don't want, this big, people stare at that too. And it's like, I don't want this aid on me that's going to help, but it's kind of annoying. And so you can't drive with it because it's in the way. And so I'm like, you know what? Just put it up. And, I think this is great because I love to bake and I bake cookies. And I'm like, I have a built in rolling pin. It's great because then I could just use my nub and roll. I flour it up, and then I use my nub and I roll out the dough. It's great. I mean, there's always a reason to find that
you,
silver lining around the dark cloud.
you've just made me think of a dream that I've had a few times.
Okay, what
You
was the
know,
dream?
yeah, it. At 65, there's no way I could ever ride bulls again.
You're
Way,
not
way, way too old.
65.
Yes, I am.
I want that water.
Huh?
I want the water.
Oh, thank you. But in this dream, I've lost both of my legs and my left arm. That's the arm I rode with, even though I'm right-handed. And they were replaced with bionic,
Hmm.
like, in the $6 Million Man. And so with those legs, I could squeeze on the bulls hard enough and pull on the ropes hard enough that nothing could throw me off. I'd ride everything no matter what, and the announcers, he's 65 years old, he hasn't been thrown, and he's gonna the world. It's just. Then I always worried, says, now what if they figure out that I'm bionic? I'll be barred for life.
Right. You will be barred for life. Right.
They'll say I'm cheating.
I don't think it's cheating. It's like my car tells me, put your hands on the wheel. And I'm like, that's not fair. I mean, I'm driving one-handed and it's like, put hands on wheel. Really? Like, that's not okay. You just have to make light of it.
So through all this, all the pain, all the suffering, you have this, like you said about your daughter, contagious smile, the contagious laugh. And it's just, and I find that so therapeutic within myself. Do you feel the same?
I do. I do. You're not supposed to feel so good helping others, like such a sense of gratification and satisfaction from it. My daughter, when she was 4, sat on Santa, and I was her interpreter. And she told Santa she wanted to give kids like herself Christmas. So from that moment on, I did a fundraiser, and we raised between 200 and 400 toys a year. We would take it with
Good
all
for
of her
you.
therapists and doctors, and we would go to, like, the chronic facilities because the hospitals are taken care of. And she would go up, and, like, if you were, God forbid, a patient, and your brother or sister were in the room, she would say, "Hi, I have a gift for you." And then she'd say, "Are you Colin's brother or sister?" "Well, I have a really bad memory, and he wanted to give you a gift and I didn't wrap them. So it's my fault, but come pick out one you want. And it's from him. And so she wanted the siblings to know that they matter too. And so this is what she did, and we still do it. And
What?
it's amazing. And I asked her every year, is there anything you want out of this? And she's like, no. And now she interviews celebrities, and her head is really big. Um, because like so many people come up to her and you've made such a difference. She got an Emmy, but she doesn't like when I tell anybody that. She's like, Mom, not that story, stop it. But like, you know who the group Wilson Phillips is?
I do not.
How do you not know who Wilson Phillips? Today's kids don't even know who Roseanne Barr is, and that to me is just
I
dumbfounding.
know who she is.
Okay, well, people are like, I don't know who Roseanne is. What? But okay, I can do it this way. Um, Wilson Phillips is a female group who's made up of the daughters of the Mamas and the Papas, and I believe the Beach Boys.
Okay, that's
And
cool.
yeah, and they had a lot of wonderful hits in the 90s. China is the lead singer, and she's married to Billy Baldwin. And she did a video for her, and she's going to interview her sometime later in the month. We've had quite a bunch of really amazing people. Like, I love the show The Blacklist. It's my little dirty secret, I guess. And Aram from The Blacklist did like a 6-minute video talking about how amazing she is for what she does. And, it's just, I told her, I said, if you do something every single day for just one person, you can change somebody's life. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
just helping one person. And don't get me wrong, the stories I could give you of that smart aleck mouth of hers, she can hold her own. She definitely can hold her own. And if you not be so gracious to her, she'll let you know. She'll tell you. So I mean, she's definitely made a lot of people laugh when
I
she's
I have
crossing.
a granddaughter similar to that. Um, when the name of my podcast, it comes, the miracles of tragedy. It comes from three different tragedies in my life. When my oldest daughter died of cancer,
I'm sorry.
all of my children been estranged from me for several years. But when she was diagnosed, she got back in touch with me. We drew close together, which meant that my oldest granddaughter is now in my life, and she's a junior in college.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. She likes fencing.
Ooh,
Yeah,
girl, tough girl.
yeah. So, so through the death of my daughter, I got close to my daughter, and I got to know her those last years very well. And the last words out of her mouth was, "I love you,"
Oh,
and so that got my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, back in my life. Then the daughter of my granddaughter that I lost, we were estranged.
mm-hmm.
One day I was praying, and the thought came to me, says, "Pray for your children." And I thought, they don't want anything to do with me. I don't have children. No, why should I pray for my children? And that voice kept coming back, "Pray for your
Mm-hmm.
children, pray for your children." Finally, I says, "Okay, I will." A few days later, this daughter calls me, and it was her ex-husband then. She was living in New Hampshire with my granddaughter that I hadn't seen since she was like 2 years old. And my grandson, who I'm never met, I think he was 8 or 9, a lot younger,
Uh huh.
had been in an automobile accident with his father, his father was killed in the accident.
Oh man.
My grandson almost, they didn't know while he was in a coma if he's going to come out of it or not. So that tragedy, and he's doing great now.
I was gonna ask you as soon
Yeah,
as you stopped
he's doing
telling.
wonderful.
Tell me
Yeah.
how
So,
he was.
but that tragedy brought my second daughter back into my life, as well as these two grandchildren. And that's the granddaughter that I lost to suicide. And that brought another granddaughter into my life who wanted to get to know me.
Oh,
Oh, and so, the miracles of tragedy. But this, you
yes.
reminded me of this granddaughter because she's like that. She just says whatever she wants to. And so old grandpa here knows every month when her period starts. I'm
I
like,
love
I
it.
don't need to know this.
Oh no. My husband says, "Oh great, Rosie's here. It's time to, so you're a little pack of ketchup." And I'm like, "Oh, oh yeah,
One time she asked me something about, you know, that topic, and I'm like, I don't know.
oh, that's grandma."
I says that's a question for your grandma. So then, within 2 seconds, my wife's getting a text message.
Don't you love that?
Oh, and
Hats off.
but the joy she brings me is just wonderful. So,
It's nice to see someone
yeah,
light up about it. I'm estranged from both of my parents. They know I was amputated and they never reached out. They never, and I pray for them every single night. I actually even pray for my ex. I call him idiot or the bad man, and I pray for him every single night. And when I'm doing a speaking engagement somewhere, or I'm coaching other people, I bring out like a little glass and I said, "This is your heart. Now you can fill it. It's only one size. You can fill it with all
mhm,
the love in the world, or you can fill it with all the hate in the world."
yeah,
Now, does somebody have that much control over you to obtain occupancy in this? And they're all like, "Wow, I didn't think of that." I'm like, because I'm here to tell you the answer is no.
yeah,
And people just kind of really take that in. And I said, I want you to like think about this for just a minute. You have survived 100% of your worst days. Now let that resonate for a second. You have survived
yeah,
100% of your worst days. I don't care if, and I apologize constantly for this because I don't know all the pronouns. They change all the time. But I don't care if you're gay or lesbian or he, she, it, trans. And if I miss anybody, I'm so, so sorry. But as long as you are loved by someone who treats you with respect and doesn't put their hands on you in an unwarranted manner, that's what matters. I don't care if it's one hit, one kick, one punch, one anything, it's one too many. It's never a competition. It's never, well, he only did it once. No, That's it. It only takes one time. And it shouldn't never take that. It's done. No
right,
more. And if they're doing it to you, eventually it'll go down and be done to the kids. And the kids are seeing it. Is that what you want your children to see? Is that's how a man is supposed to treat his wife or his girlfriend or his sister, or a mom is supposed to do that to their dad? Because then that's what they see. It's our responsibility as parents to prepare our child for the next stage of life. And what we're showing them is what is acceptable and the way that they act and how that they are to other human beings. And that is not acceptable behavior.
Victoria, you are such an inspiration. Now,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. I got to say one last thing about the contagious smile that you're telling me about. You made me think of this. We took my granddaughter to Hawaii when she was 12 years old.
Oh,
Oh, and she was just, the perfect angel too. She just didn't ask for anything, but we took her to swimming with the dolphins uh, that was there, and she argued with me about it because no, Grandpa, that costs too much.
what a sweetheart.
Yes, she was. Yes, but I've got a picture of her. It's on the big banner part on Facebook
Uh huh.
of her, like she's hugging the dolphin, and this
Oh,
huge smile on on her face. And my wife says that she could see where that smile comes from. But when I posted that for the first time on Facebook, most of my friends on Facebook are old rodeo friends. That
right.
yeah, a lot of them, and one of them is 8-time world's champion bull rider Donnie Gay.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Nice.
you,
Very
you know
nice.
Donnie?
I've heard the name.
Okay, but he yeah, Donnie's pretty cool, and but he has never met my family ever. And when I put that picture up, he says, "Man, I'd recognize that smile anywhere."
Oh, and you light up when you talk about him, which is absolutely just the sweetest
Yeah,
thing.
and I had to text. I got my phone out and I texted him, Donnie. You didn't know what that meant to me right then.
It's the
So
little things.
yeah, so smiles. I love that, a contagious smile. I love it.
Yeah, you can't smile to someone and they don't smile back. I mean, and it's just, it's like frowning is 42 muscles to do it. Do you really want to work out right now? No, just smile. Just smile. Put a smile on your face. It's contagious. Help one person a day. Just one. Make a difference.
Now, you've been through so much, especially with the abuse. That I'm guessing that you've probably talked to a lot of women who have been in similar situations. Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
What guidance do you give them?
I actually stand by them the entire way. I've had people say, I've read your book, and because of it, I left. I've had people say, I'm not sure where to start. And I will give them advice as to how to better prepare their home and what to do in the interim until we get out. And I say we because I'll be with you every step of the way. I'll show you how to get out. I'll help you get another job. I can help you. Like, even on our website, we have a moving company for every single state that will move you for free. We also,
Wow.
yeah, we have the coalition for every single state. I will help you through the process of going to get your TPO, to, getting the permanent restraining order, to how to write up the documents that you need, to having your safety plan. Because if you have a safety plan, most people go back on the average of 7 times. And that's because they don't have a safety plan in place. We can help with that. We're going to make sure. And the thing is that, if you talk to me, you're going to deal with me. You're not going to talk to somebody else. I'm going to work with you every step of the way. And I remind them that, even a tiny spark can set up a wildfire. A wildfire can start from a spark. And I know and see the beauty from within of every one of these people. And even if they don't believe in themselves at that moment, I remind them that their children do. Their children are relying on them. And if you don't at that moment believe in yourself, let me help you do this for your kids, and then let me help you work it for you. Let me show you how to bring back that inner spark, because it never died. It just dimmed. It didn't die. It's still there. And a lot of people will say, well, it never happened to me. I'd never let that happen. My biological mother said it constantly. I would never let a man hit me. You know, okay, that's what you say, but you don't know what you're going to do till you're in that situation.
Yeah.
And when you talk about that, literally you're like, you know what, don't make it worse for us when we're down. Show us support, give us an ear, give us a hand. Just let us know we actually have someone in our corner that wants to hear us or just sit with us. You don't even have to, don't give advice, just be there, because you don't know what it is that they're going through. And that's really important to know, that you're not alone, because it's really a challenging thing, because you feel like you don't deserve it. You hear something every single day, like when you married your wife and you tell her you love her, you believe her because you hear it every single day. When you hear every day, you're not worth it, you're ugly, no one's ever going to want you, you're disgusting, I'm doing you a favor being with you. That's the mindset that you start taking on, because that's what you hear. And then
Yeah.
your self-esteem just withers away, and it falls over into every aspect of your life. Well, I want to help bring those people, men and women, because men are also,
Hmm.
victims of abuse, and show them that they are that person that they were prior to this. It's no longer a relationship, because a relationship is two consenting individuals, and
Hmm.
this is not that. I want to show them that they are half that person that they were before, but they are 100 times stronger. Because one of the things, and this is like one of my biggest secrets, and I'm only going to share it on your show. I haven't told anybody else. One of the biggest things I say to women that I'm working with hands on is, I look at me and I look like Freddy Krueger and the Elephant Man had a child together. I'm so scarred up everywhere.
No,
And,
no, 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 no.
between all of his scarring and all of my surgical scars, I'm over 80% scarred. And so I cover up, I'm very scar conscious. And I tell everybody, I look at those and I say, I'm stronger than him, because that's how many times he tried and he failed. He couldn't do what he tried to do. I'm stronger than him. And we're going to bring that strength and that inspiration and that tenacity back tenfold, because at the end of the day, they are cowards. They are
Yes,
absolute cowards. And I'm going to help you realize that you are better, you're unstoppable, you're unbreakable, and you are worth fighting for.
absolutely. That's great. I love that. Now, what's the name of your book?
Who kicked first? If you go on Amazon, you'll see the cover is very chilling. It has a pregnant woman, and kind of like she's hunched over. And then there's the divided line, and you see a soldier that has his foot up. And the question is, who kicked first? Was it him or the baby? Who kicked first?
Put that up there. Oh, I didn't. I didn't save it. Okay, I'll
Oh,
put that
shame,
up on a
shame.
banner. Who picked FIRST on Amazon? I love the scrolling thing here. That
That's fantastic.
I just started using StreamYard, and it's so much better than Zoom for this. There you go.
There you go. Thank
Oops,
you.
I put the quotation in the wrong place. I caught this time. You didn't correct me like you did on the other thing.
Well, I'm a nice person.
There you go. How's that? Who kicked first on Amazon?
There you go. You got it.
Victoria, you are such an inspiration. It
Thank
has been such an absolute pleasure
thank,
talking with you.
thank you so
And
much.
just so you know, I don't think you look anything like what you described.
Thank you.
You are an absolute beautiful woman with
Thank
a
you.
contagious smile and a glow about you that I just it almost rivals my wife's glow.
Uh-oh. Shh.
Yeah.
I love
No, and
bagels too, so
I but I mean I don't mean that you know what I mean.
I do. I get it. Totally.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
that's I am so grateful to have you on.
Oh, thank
So
you for having me.
before we close, in just a couple of sentences for anybody that's listening, that you just what type something positive that you could say that through all that tragedy, what was the miracle in your life?
My daughter. My daughter.
Your daughter. And every all the good that you're doing in the world right now.
I really believe it's my purpose. My daughter, my husband, to see a smile on a child's face that I get to help. Now we're doing the service dogs and helping them, and it's to see a smile.
Victoria, thank you so much for your inspiration,
Oh,
for
thank you
all
for
that you do
having
to
me.
help others.
Thank
That
you.
is just amazing to me. You know, your daughter and all that she does and what you're doing for people. Your story so much is a miracle of tragedy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And we'll talk to you next time on the next episode of The Miracles of Tragedy.